Some entrepreneurs seem to effortlessly sell their services without feeling pushy or inauthentic. And I've always thought, like, wow, that is a true art form. But maybe it can be easier than we all think. Today, we're diving into the world of aligned sales and organic business growth ideas that actually work with a guest that I met in England at the speaker dinner for Andrew and Pizza Tomicon. Her name is Samantha Hearne, and we had such a blast chatting that night. And as she was telling me about what she does and how she operates, I thought, wow, yeah, I really have to have her on this podcast to break this down for you. So welcome back to the Real Personal Branding Podcast. I am Lauren B. Davis, and I am so thrilled to bring you a conversation that's going to probably change a little bit about the way you think about sales and authenticity in your business. Samantha Hearne is our guest, and she is a qualified teacher turned business coach and mentor. She has such a unique talent for helping women entrepreneurs make more money, increase their profits, reclaim their time, all without relying on paid ads or complicated funnels. But truly, these methods can apply to absolutely everyone. You know, on this podcast, I always seek a blend of expertise, real-world success, and actionable tactical advice from my guests. And Samantha absolutely kills in all of these areas. She totally excels in every single one of those. In this discussion, we're going to cover three honestly critical aspects for organic growth and sales in your business. So one of them is going to be how to kind of evolve your mindset to be able to successfully sell your services without that fear or overwhelm or that ick feeling around sales. Some practical steps to make your sales feel more aligned and natural, and strategies for building an authentic audience that really resonates with your brand and really doing the deep work on that audience stuff. No vagueness here. In fact, the amount of tactical stuff she shares in this episode is kind of insane, and I am excited for you to hear this conversation today. So let's get started. Welcome to the Real Personal Branding Podcast, Samantha Hearne.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. This is so much fun. So you and I met at Atomicon at the speaker dinner, and it was so much fun. And I feel like your journey from education and from being a teacher to being an entrepreneur is really fascinating. You started your career in education, which is powerful in its own way. Like, that education is so powerful and so important. And now you're a powerful teacher to entrepreneurs about sales and about growing your business authentically. How did your experiences in education inspire you to start a business focused on mindset, on business growth, on making money, on sales? And walk us through a little bit of your background story and how you got from there to here today.
Yeah, for sure. So this comes up a lot, actually, and I think that it's so easy with hindsight, right? You know, like we always can say, oh, this really helped me with that, and once you're past the point of using it. But I would definitely say that teaching has, for me, been my greatest gift because, because you have to instantly captivate a group of teenagers 6 times a day. So you're constantly having to engage 30, 35 teenagers in finding this thing interesting.
So true.
And doing that every single day. And then I was in charge of 2 year groups. So I'd have to do once a week an assembly to 250 18-year-olds. So wow. So the whole idea of kind of like public speaking, delivering a message, doing lives, teaching something, that was just my everyday existence. That was the norm, you know, and also presenting to parents, presenting to other teachers, running teams, being in charge of people that was my version of an office. So coming into social media and being online, it was just like second nature, you know, like having to engage an audience, having to teach people things, having to make it bite-sized, giving people something that would be memorable, whilst also being fun and professional, all of those types of things. For so many, when you come into running your own business, that was just my everyday. But my journey was more, it wasn't really planned. So I was teaching And I set up my first business in anxiety and mental health coaching. I wrote a book. I did quite a lot in that space. I spoke on stages, and that business got me out of teaching. Financially, it went really well. So I then, after maybe 2 years of doing that business and still working full time, left and then transitioned into business, because so many people had asked me, how did you do it? How did you create a business, build a community, build a personal brand, sell, make money, sell it, blah, 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 whilst I still worked? So it was kind of like a very organic process that people had seen me go on the journey myself. And then I probably had about a year where I did both. I still did anxiety and mental health and mindset, but I was also business mentoring, and then it just became a full-time thing. So yeah, that's kind of a very snapshot of how I ended up in this space. It was just by default of doing the thing and it going well, and then people wanting to know how I did it.
I think there's something there about how all of those times were very like they were transitional times, right? Like you weren't just like, I'm going to start a business and then you started a business. And while I think all of us know that that's not how businesses happen, they don't happen overnight. Sometimes I think it's hard to like have that perspective in the moment and say like, why aren't things happening faster for me? Why aren't things moving at a different pace or at a different rate? And what I hear through all of that is you not only had your full-time job and were running a business at the same time, but then once you left that full-time job and you were running this business, here's this other business you started, and those were kind of holding hands and married to each other for a minute. And then you went into the business that you have now, which is really just, you can see the passion oozing out of you online and in everything you do. And it's just, there are so many transitional moments in there that, you know, get boiled down into like a one-liner about what we do. And there's so much more to it, right? And so I just want to give people permission to like have those transitional periods and like move through them in the way that suits them best and that makes the most sense for them. You don't have to just like burn the ships and like jump off into the deep end every single time, even though sometimes even just taking the chance to start a business can feel like, you know, jumping off into the deep end. So thank you so much for sharing that. I really appreciate it. Early on, I know you focused a lot on using social media to grow your business organically. Can you tell us about maybe like a turning point or like what you kind of did to build your following online, and when you realized that your methods there were kind of gaining traction, and you know what you learned from those experiences?
For sure. So it sounds wild, but social media is so fast paced. And before I say what I did, what I would say if you're listening is you just have to find one thing that sticks and works. It doesn't matter what the thing is, but if right now it's working, follow the momentum. That's my like top tip. Follow the momentum. So if you feel like it's working, keep doing that thing. So my thing when I first started in 2016 was I had Instagram. I've always had Instagram. I love Instagram, but I also had a Facebook group. So I built a Facebook group to around 3,000-ish. And I used to go live in there twice a week and did quite a lot in that as a free community. I'd run workshops. I'd do like monthly Q&As. I did taster sessions. I did so much in the group. And I was constantly driving people to the free group. And the reason that I still really advocate for social media being a powerful marketing tool, although it's more competitive, although it's more crowded, although we've got algorithms, although there's paid ads and blue ticks and all of that, and I totally get it. And if you're starting now, I'm absolutely agreeing with you that it is harder than if you started pre-social media and the trend really kicking off. I get that. And I'm absolutely validating that. Because when I started, you only really had Facebook and Instagram had no lives, no reels, no carousels, no stories, it was just pictures. There was no TikTok, there was no reels, there was no threads, there was none of that. So but the reason that I circle back and say I still believe that social media is the most powerful way for you to be marketing your business is social media at its essence is about socializing and connecting, whether we're scrolling and we binge people and then we just got obsessed about this random influencer that we just love what they're doing. It is this idea of connection. So for me in 2016, it was the Facebook group, and that was my space for connection. That was my place for sharing my wisdom and building authority. But for you right now, if you're listening thinking, WTF, where do I do that? I would say that the things you really want to think about are, number one, have you got a place that you are able to share your authority? So whether that's Facebook Lives, whether it's blogs on your website, whether it's a close friends group on Instagram, wherever the thing is, where are you able to share your value and wisdom with your community? And the second thing is, where are people able to talk to you? So for example, a podcast like we're on now, it's fantastic. But if you're starting, that isn't going to allow you to build a community, because you have no idea when people are listening. You can't talk to them. You can't have any kind of connection. They just take you with them, but you don't know that. So yeah, my journey was Facebook groups and Instagram. But nowadays, I would say the two key things you need are, where are you able to give wisdom and knowledge and be seen as a solution for someone? And where are you actually able to have conversations and connections?
And that drives me to think about, one, yes, 100%. You need to have a place where your voice is heard, like where you are the expert and where you can talk to your community and actually engage with them. Not just, podcasts, I always say, are like, I love my podcast. I love doing this. I know people are listening now because they tell me that they're listening, but like, it is a quiet space because you don't hear from people. You don't know who's listening. You can't see who's listening or liking it or anything. So if you guys don't reach out to me, or you don't reach out to Samantha and say, that was an awesome episode, then we have no idea that you listened to this episode, right? Yeah. So yes, you need to have an audience. I guess I wonder now, thinking through like how you kind of grew your business in the first place on social media. Now you are focused on in a couple different places where you have a platform and you have a stage and you have your audience in front of you. How important do you feel like is email to you now versus social media? Are they similar, different? Tell me a little bit more.
Yeah, so great. And here's what I think is really important. When you're starting, because my answer is different based on where you are in business. Now, when you're starting, there's a real pressure on growing an email list and like getting data and being able to actually communicate with people. And I think that's great. But at the beginning, what I think matters more is that you actually learn who you want your community to be. So yes. I would say if you're beginning, worry less about a lead magnet and an opt-in and an email sequence and automation for the first, say, 6 months, and really focus on being with the people, doing lives, connections, saying yes to everything, collaborations, interviews, get yourself seen, give yourself the chance to actually build a group, a community, a collective, an environment where you can say, oh my gosh, Lauren's totally my vibe. Actually, I'm not really sure about Sam. Like, she's really cool, but I don't know if she'd be someone I'd want to like help. You don't know that until you're actually in with the people. Right. So I believe that an email list and growing an email list is really powerful once you know who it is you're trying to talk to.
Yes.
So you know what I mean? Because otherwise it just becomes a bit like you've got, oh yeah, I've got 500 subscribers, but no one's opening them. And that's just not the point. So I would say between 1 to 3 years is when you want to start focusing on, okay, maybe I want to offer someone something where they need to give me their email address. Maybe I can build a workshop. I can do a guide. I've got this workbook. I've got a live series. And that will only work because you know your people. So do you know what I mean? So many people spend this time building these lead magnets and no one does it because no one knows who you are, for one, and two, you don't even know if it's the thing they need. So I would say 0 to 1 year, it has to be about the people in the community and really saying yes to every opportunity to become omnipresent. And then 1 to 3 is when you strategically build a list and lead magnets and an online experience and an online ecosystem that people can go through and become part of. And then after 3 years, that's when you can start thinking about optimizing. What do you want to do with your email list? Do you want to have different audiences, different groups? And then that's a whole different thing. But that's how I feel. That's why I believe I like my email list, because I know who's reading them and I have a really consistent open rate. I have a really consistent click-through rate. So I think that's great. Like you can then start to really predict Are people enjoying it? Are these people my type of people? And it just becomes so much less of this tick box activity that you're like, right, I've got an online business, so I need a lead magnet, I need a funnel, I need an email. And that's not really what you're trying to achieve. So yeah, that's what I would say.
I love that answer. I think it's so easy to just jump right into like, okay, I need a lead magnet because that's what they said I need, or that's what this person has, or whatever. And I help people create lead magnets all the time. And one of the first questions I ask them is, what does your audience actually need? Like, what is the thing that they are Googling, or that they wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning? They're like, I got to grab my phone. I gotta figure this out because it's on my mind. What is the thing that they're actually searching for and that you can help them with? Because if you don't know your audience, if you're not paying attention to the people that are already at your party, then you are not going to create something that they want to download, and it won't turn into those consistent open rates or into that trust building thing that you really want. And that's the whole point of having an email list. But is an email list important? Oh yeah, it's so important. It can be so helpful and so beneficial to your business. So thank you for that perspective on that.
And it's so good that you said that, because I do think that when you ask that question, like, what do they want? So many people, when they first build let's say their first couple of lead magnets and they want to grow their list, they think, let's just put out a PDF because it's easier for them. So they're like, I'll just go on Canva and create this really pretty thing, and then I'll put it out there. But it might not be what the person wants, and it doesn't bring you to life. So that's so great. When you actually say to them, what do your audience want? Like, do they want a downloadable sheet, or would they rather have like a 10-minute video? It's going to be more work for you, but actually that's going to serve the purpose more. So yeah, I completely agree. If you don't know the answer to what do they want, you shouldn't be building a lead magnet, because you don't actually have an audience that you understand and therefore can serve. And the other thing is, you're paying for your subscribers. So if you've got loads of people on your list, but they don't want your thing, we've kind of missed the point there, because all these people on your list that aren't opening your email. So it's like dead traffic. They're bringing down your open rates. It makes you feel disheartened. It's not actually creating a positive experience for anyone. So yeah, I think that's such a good question.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for that perspective. And I'm so glad we're on the same page there. So let's move into we've been talking about tactical stuff already, but let's move into some even more tactical stuff that is like truly your expertise. I've heard you give talks on this. I've heard you talk to my groups. I had you come speak to my mastermind groups, which was super fun. I want to talk about sales, because there are so many people who have, and me included at different times of my life, now I feel a bit more comfortable with it. But there are so many people who have this very intense fear of selling. And I'm just getting to learn more about this. I'm actually starting to learn that I really like selling things. I would love your perspective on that at some point. But let's talk a little bit about sales strategy for coaches, consultants, service-based businesses. You worked with many service-based businesses. What is one maybe key mindset shift or evolution that you think is absolutely necessary for coaches and consultants to successfully sell their services?
What a great question. So yes, if I was to give one mindset shift, it would be this.
Okay, I'm ready.
This would be the biggest mindset shift. Until you are fully embodied in the fact that you are the solution, selling will always feel like a task and an alien activity. So when, and I say this for a few reasons. So many people come to me and say, Sam, look, I was in marketing for 20 years and I was like the head of this and I had that, or I was in sales and I was in PR and I had my own team and I managed this and I managed that, but now I'm doing it for myself. I just don't know what I'm doing. You know what, Sam, I've got all this experience. I've worked with Google, I've worked with Apple, I've done all of these things, but now I'm doing it for myself. I don't know what I'm doing. That is the mindset shift. You doing this for yourself and running your own business does not in any way discredit your experience. It amplifies it. But until you embody the fact that you are the solution to someone's problem and you're confident you can solve it, I do caveat that. You have to actually be able to solve the problem. But until you embody do you know what? I know that I can do this. I know that I'm the solution. I know I've got the knowledge. I know that I could help Joe down the road. I know that I could help Lauren, who's always in my DMs. I know that. Until you embody the fact you're the solution and you're confident you can help them, sales is not the issue. It's your belief in yourself, because that's ultimately what you're selling. When you have your own business, whether you're a yoga practitioner, a counselor, a graphic designer, a photographer, a mindset coach, a business coach, when you sell a service, ultimately you're selling yourself. You're selling your experience, you're selling your knowledge, you're selling your USP, you're selling your confidence. You are the solution. So your mindset has to shift in saying, do I fully believe, when I look at myself, do I fully believe and am I fully confident in the fact that I am the solution and I can provide this person with the thing that they need? That is my number one.
That is so, mic drop, right? Like that is so true. And that makes perfect sense why it would be hard to sell, or why it would feel like an alien activity if you didn't truly believe in it yourself, if you didn't believe in yourself enough to know that you were the solution. You talk a lot about organic growth, and I love that from the personal branding perspective and the personal branding angle of, you know, we are all out here being our true selves, building businesses around the things we love. For service-based entrepreneurs, what would you suggest or recommend as some of the first steps to building a truly authentic audience to who they are, to their brand? Why is it so important to have that authentic audience? And I think this really ties into being embodied as the person who is truly the solution for the problem that their audiences face as well. But yeah, what do you think are some of the first steps into building a truly authentic audience to who you are, what your brand is?
Yeah, for sure. So what I think is really important is, in my opinion, I believe if you use paid marketing, so you've got paid ads or using Facebook ads or whatever it is, you want that to amplify your business, not fuel your business. So people come to me and say, do you know what, Sam, I just want to fill this program. So if I put in 10K and I can get X number of people, then that's fine, cool, I've done it. Brilliant. But if you knew that you could get 4 people organically, you could then invest 5K rather than 10 and get those people. It's amplifying your business. So the reason I think that building an organic, authentic audience first matters is because whenever you are spending money on marketing as a business owner, you want it to work, right? So if you don't know the avatar, I don't love that word, but it does it explains what I'm trying to get to. But if you don't know your avatar in real depth, when you then put out paid marketing, it's a bit more general and you can end up with the wrong type of people. And yes, you might be seen, but they won't necessarily connect. So my top tips for how can you grow a really organic, authentic community, there's a few things. One, get yourself everywhere. You know, people say to me all the time, no one's finding me. Do collaborations with friends in other industries. You know, when I first started, I was in a pod with 10 other people. We all did random things, but we would then just connect with one another. We did interviews with each other just so you can continually expose yourself. So if you're a photographer, why don't you do an interview series with a web designer, with a graphic designer, with a personal brand stylist? None of them are competing with your ideal clients, but they're going to help elevate your ideal clients because you all have something that could help their community. So I would say get in front of other audiences and do collaborations. Something else I think is really important is add value. And if this was a visual and there were scales, this is one big problem, I do use that word, that I now see in the online industry. People are expecting people to spend thousands when they are not willing to give 30 minutes for free to their community. Your level of value, your level of output must match, if not exceed, the expectation you have of someone else in being an audience member, let alone a client. So for me, for example, that could look like, and I still do this now, I have a fully booked business. It's not where it was in 2016. I still do lives. I show up every day on social media. I send a weekly email. I do podcasts. I still do all of the things I spoke about then. Why? Because if I have this expectation that clients want to work with me and invest with me, They have to be able to have value and experience from me. So the first thing is collaborations. The second is you must be giving value on a consistent basis to your audience who are not paying to work with you. If you really want to build authentic connections, you have to live by the principle that this business is not just to fuel your life. It's also because you want to actually help the person get the solution. So that would be the second thing. And the third thing would be unapologetic about explicitly promoting the things that you're doing. And this could be free. So after this, I guarantee Lauren and I will probably individually go on our own social media and tag each other to be like, oh my God, we had this great chat, right? That's not an artificial forced thing. It's because we've had a great conversation and we want to talk about it. Right. So that's exactly what that's unapologetically just promoting what you're doing. So if you go to an event and you hear a great speaker, promote you're going to an event. If you are doing something for your email list, promote that before it goes out. Give people the chance to experience and promote and celebrate what you're doing before it happens, so people can come along for the ride. And the fourth thing that I would say is celebrate the people that are doing the things you want them to be doing in your community. So if someone DMs me a question and I'm like, that is such a great question, I will screenshot that, put it on my stories and answer it publicly. So they're getting rewarded by having their questions answered, but I'm also showing my audience, you can message me. I want you to talk to me. So showcase that. And if you are in a situation where you don't have a big audience, it's quiet, that's okay. If one person messages you, use that. It doesn't matter how many, it's the principle. So number one, collaborations, become omnipresent, get yourself in other rooms, connect with people, use your network. Number two, make sure that you are adding value. You must be adding value. Number three, unapologetically promote what you're doing. Talk about it so people can come along for the ride. And number four, make sure that you are showcasing and celebrating the people that are doing the things that you want them to be doing, so other people start doing it too.
Oh, so much good information here. Holy moly. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. What do you, I heard so many things in there and I have so many questions, but one question comes to mind as you were saying some of that is there a mistake that you see some businesses or service-based businesses making when it comes to trying to scale their sales, or like what can business owners, what can we all do to avoid those types of mistakes? And what is one that, working with so many businesses over time and so many really cool, interesting, unique businesses, what's one thing that you kind of see in common that you're like, this is the mistake I see all the time and I really want to help people avoid this or move through it?
Yeah, great question. Okay, this is what I stand by. Slow and steady will always win the race. So I have, let's say, all right, I've got a client at the moment and she's got a team of 5 and she's maybe making, if I give you averages, because I don't know exactly, but let's say 250 pounds, 250k pounds, let's say over the year, right? Turnover, not profit, but turnover. And she wanted to launch a group program. And I was like, cool, right. So we spent all this time really digging into what we're going to do, who's it for, building all of that. And she had the goal of getting 5 people in there. I was like, start small, right? This is what I mean by slow and steady. She got 3 dreamy people and they all paid in full. And in the same month, she also got 2 pay in full one-to-ones. But she then felt disheartened that she didn't have 5. And I was like, let me just explain. It's better for you to have less people that are the right type of person, that are going to do the work, that are good quality so that you enjoy it and they enjoy it, than filling a program for the sake of filling the program. So the biggest mistake I think people make is they try and go too big too quick, and then we don't focus on client experience, we don't focus on our experience, and we don't actually do enough to make sure that what we're building is sustainable. So I always say slow and steady. And if it's about money, you can always make more money, but you absolutely cannot repair a damaged reputation. So if you have 10 people come into this program and they will have a really crappy time, you aren't able to serve them all, they can't get results, you feel burnt out, you feel resentful, 2 things will happen. You can't repair the damage that does to your soul. Like, you will feel so disheartened and beaten down and just demoralized that you haven't been able to give your best. That could have a lasting impact. But then if you've got 10 people that were like, I trusted you and I thought we were going to do this work and we didn't. People complain way quicker than they celebrate. So I believe, and don't get me wrong, I've made mistakes. I've made mistakes in my time in business.
Everyone
and
has. Yeah.
you know what I mean? So I've absolutely done that. But if I've made mistakes, it's not because I'm trying to rush somewhere, and it's not because I'm trying to run before I can walk. It's just because of human error. So the thing that I would always say is, don't be afraid. And I've done this, I still do this now. I still cap some of my programs, and I'm like, this is the maximum number. So yes, this year I've turned away £70,000 worth of sales because these people weren't right to come into my program. So I have to protect the people in there and myself. Slow and steady, you must make sure that you're giving your clients the best experience and you enjoy it. Money is not going to solve your problems if you are unhappy, demotivated, and constantly chasing your tail. Money is only going to make you and your life and your business feel happy and fulfilled if you're doing it in a way where you are in control. You aren't constantly this headless chicken chasing after all these clients that you can't deliver for. So slow and steady.
Thank you so much for saying that. I have the chills the whole time because it is 100% true. And you've spoken about consistency, a lot. And that's kind of a running invisible thread I feel through a lot of this, but also visibility, right? And you have to be visible in order for people to start building trust with you and to want to buy from you. How can entrepreneurs balance being visible, having consistency with showing up in their business while also maintaining the balance of just like the back end business stuff and life and all of the other things in general? What are some of your suggestions for that?
Okay, I talk about this all the time. So number one, your personal brand is not the same as your personal life. So for me, for example, my daughter's face is not on my social media and her name is not on the internet. I don't share any of my friends, or when I socialize with people, the only person that would frequently appear on my socials that isn't me is my husband. But I still have life, but my audience aren't always involved in that. Like my brother-in-law got married, there was one picture of me and Luke, but I didn't share the bride and groom, I didn't share the family. So your personal brand is not the same as your personal life. That's really important. And what you choose to share is what you are happy for people to connect with you on and comment with you on and become part of that process. The second thing I would say is consistent is not the same as constant. You don't have to be online 24/7. And here's my example that I always give. There is not one picture, story, anything on the internet of me changing my daughter's nappy. But let me tell you, when she was little, I was probably doing that every hour, every 2 hours. That's not on the internet. Right. No one sees me eating my dinner. No one sees me sleeping. No one sees me having a bath. No one sees me doing all of these other things that you have to do in your life. So remember, social media is such a small percentage, but if you are online for 1 minute a day, 1 minute a day, that can last for 24 hours. So if you do a 1 minute reel, a 1 minute story, a 1 minute short video on your LinkedIn, that can last you the whole day. So consistent is not the same as constant. And the third thing I would say is you set what you want your consistency to look like. So what I mean by that is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I work. And Thursday, Friday, Wednesday afternoon, Thursday, Friday, I don't. So on a Thursday and a Friday, I'll still have stories and I'll have pre-planned content, but I'm not like this at my desk doing stories, face to camera, chatting to the world. And usually on weekends, I'm not either. But I guarantee my audience would never notice that because they're still seeing something. So make your social media and your visibility strategy work for you. And be organized. If you're organized, you can show up every day, but you're not actually there. So personal brand is not the same as your personal life. Consistent is not the same as constant. You decide what you want your version of consistency to look like and get yourself organized with your content so that it can go out when you're not there.
Yes, yes, yes. And I think there's a lot of advice out there that suggests that social media needs to be perfect, or you need to have the most perfect posts, or it has to have a certain color theme, or it has to look amazing, or have the most well perfect pictures or perfect videos. And I also think that people take that approach when they're building a product. They think their product has to be absolutely perfect before they sell it. Based on your experience, do you feel like this is true?
I don't
Tell
think
me
so.
your thoughts on this.
I think that so much is being exposed on this, but a lot of people in the past have bought programs or courses because they look amazing and they're like, wow, this is so professional, and like, shit, they've really gone to town. And then they get inside and they don't get the support they need. So don't allow, listen, marketing is so important, but don't allow marketing to detract you from what you're actually getting, which is value, knowledge, what's inside someone's head, what's in their years of experience, when they, the hours that they've worked in their business. So two things: as the consumer, make sure you're savvy enough to know the difference between, is this just really well marketed, or have they got really good credentials to back it up?
Yes.
And as the provider, make sure that you are not procrastinating over a font for 6 months, rather than just saying, hey, I can help you do this thing, let's do it. Right, that's what I would say.
Yes, to the 1000%. Thank you so much. Okay, so my question that I love to ask every guest that's been on the show is, if there was one myth about service-based entrepreneurship or sales that you would love to bust in today's climate, in today's culture, what would it be?
That is such a great question. It would be, the person you're looking at has it all figured out.
That's such a good one.
Do
you want to elaborate?
Yeah, they don't. Like, so I would say the biggest myth that we all have as people is that so-and-so knows what they're doing and I don't. So-and-so's got it all worked out and I don't. That's not the case. And here's what I would say if I was to expand on that. I don't think it's inauthentic for you to keep your wobbles and your insecurities and your vulnerabilities for your sacred people. I don't think that that's inauthentic for you to spend time saying, actually, I need to just be with my loved ones and have this moment and just completely collapse before I come back together. I don't think that's inauthentic. What I think is really authentic about that, and the way that I run my business, is I won't ever share a problem unless I can bring a solution. So an example of that was when my husband and I were trying to get pregnant. We didn't get pregnant for 6 years. It was quite a long process, and we ended up going through IVF. I didn't share any of that with my audience until I had my 12-week scan, and I did a reel. I did a reel, and now it's my pregnancy, but through the whole of IVF. So one, I'm so proud. I'm so proud that I'm an IVF mum. But I believe, for me, if I'd have shared that struggle without the solution, I can't help anyone. So yes, I would have connected with loads of other women that have this heartache and don't know what's happening, but I couldn't help. And then that just creates this other layer. So if you are looking at people thinking they've got their stuff together, one, they don't, but just because they don't tell you doesn't mean that they're not being authentic. They could be keeping it for when they have a safe space to share it with you. When the thing that's inauthentic is if you see someone today tell you they're a millionaire, and in 6 months there's a post saying, I was about to burn my business to the ground because I was going bankrupt. That's completely different. But on the whole, if Lauren didn't show up for a week on social media and then came and said, you know what, I've had a bad chest infection, I haven't been able to come online, I've been on antibiotics, I'm feeling better now, but I just needed some space. No one would think that she was a liar. No one would think that she's being fake or false. They would say, do you know what, she needed space. And that's what's really important. So just because you don't see people's challenges doesn't mean they're not there. And just because they don't share them doesn't mean they don't experience them. So the myth is caveated with that, because I think that's really important. Sometimes there's a lot of pressure around, you have to share everything and you've got to share your vulnerabilities, otherwise people won't trust you. And I do believe that you have to share yourself, but some of it does get to be just for you, so please remember, everyone's figuring it out and everyone's making mistakes and everyone's changing their minds. And also, off the back of that, nothing is wrong. Just because you do it a different way doesn't mean it's wrong. So my myth would be, if you're watching people thinking they know better than you, or they know what they're doing, or they've got it all together, they haven't. Just spend time thinking about how. My question that I always ask myself, and I ask my clients, is, what's the best next step? Don't worry about 10 steps. Don't worry about 6 time. Just what's the best next step? And if the best next step is you going and watching Netflix and chilling the F out, do that. If the best next step is you recording the live that you keep putting off, do that. Once you take the first best next step, something else will happen. But the reason we get so stuck in this comparison is we believe so-and-so that's on step 10 is there and I'm only at step 1. Don't worry about that. Just take your first next step. And then soon enough, you will be at 10 steps. But that's not going to happen if you just keep thinking that everyone else has got it right and you've got it wrong. So yeah, sorry, my TED there.
No, I love it so much. I thought it was so perfect. And I am just so grateful that we met this summer.
Me too.
Such a divine meeting, and being able to like chat with you for like that 15 minutes. And then now here we are, we've spoken to each other's communities. You're on my podcast. I'll be on your podcast at some point too. And this is so much fun. Thank you for sharing.
We're across the pond besties.
We basically are. And I just really want to say thank you for sharing so much tactical stuff with my audience, with me, because we all appreciate it and it can help so many people. If anyone wants to follow Samantha, we'll put the link to her social media and all of her things in our show notes. I highly suggest you follow her. She is amazing to watch, and everything she talked about here today, like she practices what she preaches to the extreme. So I really appreciate you being here. Thanks so much for sharing so much wisdom with us.
Thanks for having me.
And that wraps up our conversation with Samantha Hearne on authentic sales strategies and organic business growth. Oh my gosh, it's like drinking from a fire hose. So much good stuff. You can find any of the links we mentioned in the show notes or at laurendaviscreative.com/show. I am so eager to hear what resonated with you. Let me know on Instagram or LinkedIn, which of Samantha's strategies do you plan to implement in your business? Is it her approach to mindset, her tips for building an authentic audience? Maybe it's her insights on like balancing visibility with real life or with CEO work. Feel free to find me. Let's chat about it. I really, really mean that. I am always happy to have a conversation about the podcast. And I'm equally, if not more excited when I see you share about the podcast online. Podcasting, as I mentioned, even in this episode, can feel like really quiet. Like you don't really know who is out there, who is getting value from it. So whenever I find out that you've been listening to this podcast, it makes me so happy. And it's one really free way that you can support this podcast. I really appreciate it. If you are hungry for more insights on personal branding and marketing, you can join me in my free Facebook group, which is Personal Branding for Entrepreneurs. There's a link in the show notes for that as well. And hey, if you found Samantha's insights super valuable, why not give her a shout out? We'll put her handle in the show notes. Share this episode, drop Samantha a message letting her know what you learned. These small acts really, really light up entrepreneurs, big or small. And I know that she'll love that, and she'll be really happy to see that online, especially because we talked so much about our online audiences today. Okay, so that is it for today. Please continue to develop those genuine personal brands, and keep in mind, selling doesn't have to feel pushy when it's aligned with who you truly are. I'll talk to you in the next episode of the Real Personal Branding Podcast, where we will keep it real and keep growing those authentic personal brand businesses. Thank you so much for being here. Talk to you soon.